My older sister, 26F, was always an addict. I, 21F, was always told to never follow in her footsteps. My parents have bankrupted themselves going into debt, getting her into various rehabs, and she just never got sober or clean. She'd do okay for a few weeks or months and end up getting hooked back on pills or getting arrested. My parents were always bailing her out of jail and sending her to rehab. There was no college savings for me because my parents spent it all to send her to rehab. My parents even sold their house and moved states away just to be able to support my sister, while I stayed and moved in with my boyfriend because my parents were downsizing and they didn't have room for me. Despite my sister's problems, she's still my sister and I loved her. She was a great big sister when we were kids. She'd deal with school bullies for me. I remember her making me lunch in elementary school and playing Barbies with me. My boyfriend 24M also has history with drug abuse in his family. His dad passed away when he was young due to alcohol and drug abuse. My boyfriend is straight edge and I've always respected that. Whenever I tried talking about my sister, he would tell me to stop because it was too painful for him to relive the trauma of his father dying. I have been a crying mess since yesterday when my mom called me to tell me my sister had died. When I told my boyfriend that my sister had passed away, he responded in the most callous, cruel way. He called her a useless junkie and said she brought it on herself. I was completely shocked. I tried to explain that my sister had demons and that her addiction didn't define her as a person, but he doubled down, telling me she was just dead weight and a burden on everyone. I told him he was being shitty and disrespectful to my sister. She wasn't perfect, but she was still my sister, and I needed to go say goodbye and be there for my parents because I'm their last living child. That's when things got even worse. He said that if I went to the funeral, we were done because it was too emotionally messy and that I needed to move on from someone who was obviously toxic to my life. He even went as far as to say that my sister was irrelevant now and that I should focus on our future together. He basically tried to forbid me from going, saying it wasn't healthy and I should be thinking about us instead. I told him. He said he forbids me from going to her funeral and transferred the money out of our joint bank account back to his own bank account to prevent me from buying a plane ticket. I told him that keeping me from saying goodbye to my only sister was bullshit and he was being a selfish asshole, to which he called me a dumb bitch and threatened to kick me out of our shared apartment. My name isn't on the lease, but I contribute 80% of my paychecks to our joint account, even though he makes more than me because we agreed to be fair. I ended up calling my mom and breaking down on the phone to her over this, and it felt like she just guilt-tripped me more, because then she started crying about how I really must not care about her or my dad or my sister because otherwise I'd be there with them already. I ended up packing a bag and texting a coworker and I'll be crashing in her living room on an air mattress for tonight at least. I told my boyfriend we were done and I can't be with someone who would be so mean and cruel to me when I just lost my sister. I was venting to my coworker about all of this and my coworker said I might be overreacting and shouldn't rush to break up with him because my parents live over 1,000 miles away. We have been together for over 3 years since I was 18 and I don't want to throw away a 3-year relationship, but I also don't want to be with him anymore after this. Should I not go to my sister's funeral? Break up with him? Do you have a suggestion or solution? Let us know in the comments and let's discuss it. Here are some interesting opinions from the comments section.
Your boyfriend is abusive. He's holding you hostage financially and emotionally. You did the right thing by ending the relationship. I'm so sorry for your losses, but am happy you're getting away from this cruel person.
He literally stole money from a joint account to keep you from going. That's theft. Regardless if your sister was an addict, you still had good memories and I'm sure wanted her to get better because you remembered who she was. His words were beyond cruel. His trauma is his responsibility to bear.
He sounds like a badly written, controlling, and callous boyfriend from the very depths of the best pulp fiction novel of yesteryear. The kind one eventually grows out of?
This dude is a red flag. Transferring money out from your joint account is financial abuse, and forbidding you to do anything, let alone go to your own sister's funeral, is vile behavior. Fortunately, you're not on the lease, so you can cut ties very easily. The callous way in which he's handling your grief is inhumane. He's shown you exactly what/who he is. Believe him. I absolutely do not think you're overreacting. You 100% should break up with this guy and never look back. Anyone telling you different is clapped.
Take him to small claims court if he doesn't return you, and publicize his theft on every possible social media he's on. He's a vile, bastardized of a human being, and you're lucky to find out now how awful he is.
She was your sister and you loved her. You've done the right thing breaking up with him, and I don't know what your friend is talking about. The relationship was toxic, and he doesn't get to project his feelings about his dad onto your relationship with your sister. Find a way of getting home to your family so you can all be together. Maybe they can help you out with the money for a ticket.
Don't listen to your coworker and leave your boyfriend. He kept you hostage, was disrespectful, and a total dick. He took money from a joint account that wasn't his to take. I understand you're in a difficult position, but don't go back. There is no future with him. He needs serious therapy.
So he's allowed to be upset about his dad passing away due to drug abuse years ago, but you're just supposed to get over your sister dying recently? Fuck that. Your boyfriend is an asshole.
Yes, yeah, YTA for wanting to break up with him. There should be no question about breaking up with him. You should kick his ass to the curb and never have contact with him as long as you live.
Your boyfriend is an abusive, controlling thief. He stole from you to try to force you to obey him because he doesn't see you as an independent person. He believes you have to obey him like a servant. I'm sorry your parents are guilt-tripping you instead of understanding that the money you needed to buy your ticket home was stolen from you. I hope you're able to get some funds together to make it to the funeral and to rebuild a life without this guy. It's clear that your parents have never been there for you, and that really sucks, but it's not your boyfriend's place to force you to cut them off. How you want to manage your relationship with your parents going forward is up to you. It's not up to your, hopefully, ex-boyfriend. I hope you are able to find and surround yourself with people who treat you with the love and respect your parents and your ex-boyfriend have not shown you.
Pack a bag and leave. Pawn some shit, get a payday loan, sell your car and get on the plane. Start over once you are back home with your family. He doesn't love you. He is controlling and toxic and is already being abusive. Go home. Grieve your sister. Leave him in your past.
He is correct. You need to move on from him. Also, take a screenshot of him taking the money out of your joint account. Unfortunately, you won't be able to get it back, perils of joint accounts, but send a summary of your post along with the screenshot to his boss.
Why do you share a bank account with a boyfriend? Never. Mingle finances with anyone with whom you are not married. Even when co-mingling finances with a spouse, women should always also have an account with only her name on it.
So in summary, you are in a very, very abusive relationship with a partner who doesn't love or respect you in any way. He stole your money from the shared account and forbid you like you're a 2-year-old toddler. First, if your paychecks are being direct deposited to the shared account, call payroll right this minute and explain that you are in a financially abusive situation and need to redirect your deposits absolutely as soon as possible. Open a new account at a totally different bank and direct future deposits there. Talk to your parents about possibly moving back home for a few months while you regroup and get your life together. Look into getting yourself some therapy ASAP to understand why you would think so little of yourself that you'd allow some loser to abuse you repeatedly.
He's wrong to feel that way about your sister, especially when you consider how his own lived experience informs his actions. But he owed you support and validation for your right to interpret her actions your own way. The main failing on his part is the lack of support and lack of respect. He showed himself unfit to be your partner. UBF is a controlling, abusive, royal asshole. You forbid you to go, made sure you had no money, threatened to break up if you went to her funeral. In the horrid comments about her, what the actual fuck? You did the right thing, break up, and don't look back. You are young, and you don't need to be tied down to this guy who will not allow you to live your life. Get your money back and get gone. Your parents, they downsized. BC, they spent all their money on your sister. I believe in helping our children, but not at the expense of another child. So now, there's no money for college, and they don't have room for you in their home. They completely neglected you. So newsflash, you have shitty parents, but it's okay to fucking guilt trip you about not being able to even get there. Did they send you airfare? Of course not. You're better off without any of these people in your life. I'm worried for you, BC. You're so young, but this lesson you have learned, well, I think you're going to be just fine. Wishing you the very best future.
Is this what you want out of your life, to walk on eggshells and be controlled and dictated by some egotistical asshole? Do you think someone who truly loves you would push their trauma onto yours to compound it instead of trying to support and heal you through this incredibly hard time? Was your sister a good person? By your description, probably not, but does that mean have no right or autonomy to mourn her and grieve with your family? Your boyfriend is abusing everything in his power to force you to do what he wants. It will only get worse from here.
Go to the funeral, leave the boyfriend. He's an abusive, controlling jerk who has yet to figure out his own issues and is preventing you from working through yours because of it. Please, go to your sister's funeral. You will regret it for the rest of your life if you don't. Get away from him ASAP, no matter what you have to do to get out.
He's abusive. The coworker who said you're overreacting is an idiot. And trust me when I say throwing away 3 years is better in every way than staying under his boot for longer. And if you play into his shit and skip the funeral, you'll regret it forever and break up anyway.
I'm sorry, OP, but he is a pause. It sounds like there were red flags before. You contributing 80% of your paycheck and you aren't even on the lease is not fair. I think you spent a good chunk of your life being the forgotten child while your parents focus on your sister, and now you don't know what a healthy relationship is supposed to look like. BC, this isn't it. He stole your money to prevent you from going to your sister's funeral and threatened to break up with you. That's deranged, and leaving is the right thing to do. Consider therapy or Al-Anon. I think you've got some things you're repressing that need to be dealt with.
Dump him. Using his own trauma to control you. His financial abuse and emotional abuse will turn to physical abuse if the relationship sees enough stress. No one deserves to live their life on top of that grenade. Leave him. If you can't afford that city, move somewhere more affordable.
Go, just go. You're giving him 80% of your paycheck for household expenses when he makes more than you. He's an abusive jerk and you need to leave him like yesterday. Can you borrow money from a friend or coworker to get a ticket? You need to be there to say goodbye to your sister. And while you're doing that, say goodbye to your abusive boyfriend too. You're very young and have your whole life ahead of you. I'm so sorry for your loss. I hope you find some comfort in knowing your sister is no longer suffering.
I felt the same way about throwing away a 3-year relationship at basically exactly your age. Please know, it was one of the best choices I ever made. This guy is verbally abusive, calling you names and threatening you. He is emotionally abusive, dismissing your very normal grief and invalidating your love for your sister and someone you've cared about your whole life. He's financially abusive. He literally stole all your money so you couldn't leave him just to go on a trip to a family funeral. That's not only not a normal thing for a boyfriend to do, it's the furthest thing from a boyfriend thing to do because he should have been offering to go with you and support you. I'm willing to bet there are more ways in which he abuses you than this post covers. So, what now? Change whatever form of depositing you use for your paycheck. Open a new account at a new bank. Do not let anyone tell you you're treating this incorrectly. Anyone who cares about you, including just strangers on the internet who are now worried about your safety and well-being, would support you in getting the F out of that situation. In a way, this is a parting gift from your sister, who I am sure loved you back despite her struggles. She gave you the gift of truly understanding who your boyfriend is and a clear and justified reason for making your own way in life. I'm so sorry you lost her, both to her addiction and in your life, but it is beautiful of you to cherish the good memories of her. She's saving you from a bully one last time.
His trauma doesn't trump your trauma. You're allowed to grieve and process, whether that makes his carefully constructed house of denial and repression fall down or not. Now, he allowed to leave to protect himself entirely. And frankly, it sounds like you two should have split a while ago, because he very much prioritizes his struggles over yours. Honestly, as someone who lost a sibling to complicated circumstances, your life is going to be in shambles anyway. You're going to be a mess. You're not going to be holding it together, and while a supportive partner would decidedly help, he isn't. Embrace the mess. Cut him loose and build your life with the new pieces you have, because if you don't, you'll start rebuilding your life around him. You two aren't working. How much worse is it going to be to rebuild around him and then leave? And I can't imagine whatever you build around him will be healthy. Very much using rotten wood to build a frame.
Life is painful and messy, and unfortunately you will have to face more deaths in your life. If your boyfriend has responded so cruelly at such a devastating time, this is just a reflection of how he'll respond in the future. He holds no empathy or compassion for you and can only focus on his own struggles. He should be putting aside his personal issues to help you cope with yours, but instead he's being an abusive obstacle. You need to be with your parents right now, and that's it. He's literally stealing your money.
You have your own demon, and it's your BF. Dump him before he kills you, like hers killed her. He stole your money, which you were very short-sighted in letting him have control over and not immediately grabbing it yourself. This is your opportunity to break free.
Doesn't matter if it's too hard on him. If you want to go, you go. You are grieving, he can't forbid that, as well as he can't forbid you from doing anything. He seems controlling and mean. Good on you that you walked away. Your coworker was helpful in providing you a place to stay, but not in what she said.
Don't go to the funeral. Talk to your parents about honoring your sister in a different way at a later time. You need to focus on getting yourself out of an abusive situation. That needs to be your focus right now. Your sister protected you.
Addiction is a disease, literally, and defined as such because it actually changes your brain chemistry, meaning that when you're in it, you do things you wouldn't normally do, except in pursuit of it. Yes, I speak from my own personal experience. I get his trauma and maybe not wanting to go himself, but to try to forbid you from going and claim that's grounds to end your relationship is wrong on so many levels, not to mention the things he said about her the next day. Regardless of his feelings about your sister, he should have kept them to himself and been there for you without question. This guy clearly hasn't worked through his own issues with this, maybe hasn't even tried, as he clearly doesn't understand what addiction is, and you deserve better. It may feel like it, but 3 years is really not that long and you don't want to waste any more. You're young, and I promise you there's someone out there who will care about you enough to never dream of saying things like that to you, no matter what they might think or have been through. No matter how much that, too. I'm so sorry for your loss. Never felt bad about mourning someone you loved, someone who's family, and don't put up with anyone who tries to make you feel that way.
Your BF is a massive, controlling, manipulative AH. Stop making any payments to the joint account, get your name off of the bills and the account, and most importantly, dump his ass.
The financial abuse alone is why you should go. Go now and never look back except to get your money. The disgusting lack of human empathy is the decorative red flags around the border of this turd cake of a man. Sending you love and my deepest sympathy for your loss and best wishes for your future.
Pretty sure he went his father's funeral. Despite him also struggling with drugs, he can't stop you from going to that funeral. You're an adult, capable of making decisions and entitled to your grief. She's still your sister, despite the drugs. Break it off and get your money back, if you can. Transferring that money out was theft. Also, 80%? How did he rationalize that as fair? He's taking advantage of the fact that you moved in with him when your parents downsized. It's okay to let go of a bad relationship, no matter how long you were together. Your coworker may be looking out for your living situation, but sending you back to a guy who is gaslighting, mean-spirited, and a thief is not a solid plan.
Do you have some savings? Move to your parents' state, possibly in with them, and keep working to save up for a small apartment. If you can't go to their state, get a 1-bedroom apartment or find a roommate to split bills with on a 2-bedroomer. Whatever you do, dump this abusive asshole and get away from him. Threaten all he might. You need to stay strong. You have the support of everybody who has read this thread. I wish you the best of luck.
It sounds like you don't have a sense of self. You are relying or allowing other people to tell you what to do or what not to do, and then you spiral into an inability to take any kind of action no matter what the advice is, and regardless of how contrary it is compared to what you say you want to do. Get your money back from your BF, open a new account that he doesn't have access to, buy the ticket, fly home. While you're there, make plans to live somewhere else once you fly back. Dump your emotionally and financially abusive STBX. Then get yourself into therapy to learn who you are and how to take power in your life.
I am so sorry this is happening to you and your family, and wish I lived close by to help you out, because this friend isn't a friend. Go to your sister's funeral. She loved you. You deserve to process what is happening. You are not the AH. You should 100% break up with him. You'd only be wasting years of your life if you stayed with this monster. Before you go, however, you need to call the police on your boyfriend for taking the money out of the joint account and putting it all into his account. File a police report. If you can, try to frame him for it over text, saying things like, "I can't believe you took all my money out of the joint account and put it into yours," or something along those lines. Though the police won't be able to do much, that police report and texts can be used in court to force him to pay back what he stole, especially if you can prove the money from your salary was going there. Speak to your employer immediately to stop putting your money into this account you have with this monster. In the future, please don't get a joint account with anyone. Your money is yours, under your control, and theirs is theirs. And I'm always here if you need someone to talk to. Sending you love, light, and healing.
He hasn't dealt with his pain and is in no shape to be in a relationship. He cannot dictate how anyone else responds to grief and loss. Honestly, this would be a hard stop for me.
You should absolutely break up with your useless boyfriend. If a man ever tries to forbid you from doing literally anything, you should break up with them. No man after you turn 18 has the right to forbid you to do anything. If you want to jump off a fucking cliff, he can tell you it's a bad plan, but he shouldn't forbid you. Seriously, if that word came out of the mouth of my partner, I'd end the conversation and start packing immediately. You are a grown-ass woman. Your coworker is a moron.
That is so abusive from your partner. He has no right to forbid you on anything. You are a grown-ass woman and you can make your decisions and live up to it. Also, that move with money, doesn't it sound like a big red flag? So next what? If you make a decision that he does not agree, he will take your money. Please go to the funeral and be there to say your goodbye.
Open your own bank account ASAP if you stay with him. Only give what you can, maybe 50%, not 80%. Do not ho-ho to that funeral to support parents who don't give a F about you. Your boyfriend approach is all wrong, but he doesn't want you to get sucked in with him. He is an so are your parents.
There is no room in any relationship for the word forbid, no matter the situation. Aside from that, do not listen to your coworker. No matter what your ex's trauma is, treating someone who has suffered a loss of a family member like this, regardless of the circumstances of the death, is unforgivable and just wrong. You've made the right choice. I'm sorry for your loss.
Stop your direct deposit from going into that joint account or he will take more. I don't know who these people in your life are, but they all sound like a jokes, including your parents. Go say goodbye to your sister and then cut them all off.
Plenty of assholery to go around on this one. First, your BF should know that there is no need to say everything you think, even if you are right. Second, it sounds like your parents enabled your sister's addiction by constantly bailing her out instead of letting her suffer the consequences of her addictive behaviors early on. Third, your dismissal of being fair about finances is ridiculous. Of course, a couple should be fair when it comes to finances. You don't think it was fair that you contribute equally? Whether one person makes more than the other is irrelevant, especially when we are talking about a couple who are not married. Fourth, breaking up was the correct thing to do for several reasons.